Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and right beside me, I've got Hoops. How you doing?
What's going on, man? Overall, I've been doing pretty good, I will say, for the most part, just same old life routine, getting through in life, work, work, gym, rest, repeat, all that stuff, I guess. Nothing too crazy. How about you? How you been, man?
I've been good. Basically the same as you, just going to the gym, working, stuff like that. I know there's been a lot of good music released recently that I'm planning on making videos for. I do want to plug this one thing though. I It's not out yet, but I believe by the time this episode is out, uh, my video on this weekend song bracket will be out. I made this whole like 64 track bracket, all weekend songs. So we have like tracks like Can't Feel My Face versus Blinding Lights, battling it out. And, I put a lot of time into it. And I think it's a good video. I'm like halfway done with the editing. I'm gonna see if I can finish that really soon. But I think it's gonna be an awesome video. So if you guys, you know, think that might be interesting, I definitely recommend it. Um, just to like end off the March Madness season, I thought it'd be a good idea to do that.
Nice. Yeah, that shall definitely be interesting. I'm also a fan of The Weeknd, so I will definitely need to check that out for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people like The Weeknd too, so I feel like he was a good artist to choose. I've done it for other artists as well. I've done it for Kendrick, Tyler, um, Gorillas, but yeah, that video should be out soon. Now that I'm done plugging that, we've got an exciting video or episode for today because this is actually gonna be our last like regular season rundown for this season because from here on out we're like our content is going to be revolving more around the end of the season type of content, like predicting the awards, predicting um playoff matchups. We're gonna have our NBA award show as well, where we have a bunch of awards that we made up, and we come up with nominations. It was a fun episode to record last year, so we're gonna bring it back. Maybe we'll dress nicer. We'll wear like a suit for that. I think that'd be a fun idea. So we got a lot of
That'd be
fun content to come really really soon, basically starting next week because we're almost done with the season. We're so close. But before we could do that, we gotta do one last rundown episode. And why not do a rundown of the NBA standings? I believe this is my turn for the West Coast, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, so I'll do that. We'll start with the Jazz at 15 with a 16 and 59 record. Damn, that that sucks. Pelicans at 14 with a 20 and 54 record. Spurs at 13 with a 31-41 record. Trailblazers at 12 with a 32-42 record. Suns at 11 with a 35-39 record. Mavs at 10 with a 36 and 38 record. AD recently came back for a game. That was cool to see. Hopefully he could come back for more. Kings at number 9 with a 36-37 record. Timberwolves at 8 with a 42-32 record. That's kind of a big jump. Wow. Warriors at 7 with a 42-31 record. Clippers at 6 with a 42-31 record. Grizzlies at 5 with a 44-29 record. And starting with the Grizzlies, every team I mentioned from here on out clinch a postseason spot, I guess. The Lakers at number 4 with a 44-29 record. The Nuggets at number 3 with a 47-28 record. Rockets at number 2 with a 48-26 record. And at the tippy top, a huge gap between 2 and 1. It's the Thunder with a 61-12 record.
All right. So now for the Eastern Conference standings. Number 15, we got the Wizards at 16 and 57. 14 Hornets, 18 and 55. 13 Nets, 23 and 51. 12 Sixers, 23 and 50. 11 Raptors, 27 and 47. 10 Heat, 32 and 41. 9 Bulls, 33 and 40. 8 Magic, 35 and 39. 7 Hawks, 35 and 38. 6 Bucks, 40 and 33. 5 Pistons, 42 and 32. 4 Pacers, 43 and 30. 3 Knicks, 46 and 27. 2 Celtics, 54 and 19. And sitting at the top of the Eastern Conference, we got the Cavs at 59 and 15. So those are the Eastern Conference standings.
All right, then let's continue on with, I guess, the final W and L list of the regular season. How sad. And we'll start off with a classic W team, the Thunder. They have the best record in the league, right? Yeah, they have a better record than the Cavs. So best team in the league right now. They are going through an 8-game winning streak and doing it in a dominant fashion, aren't they?
Oh yeah, dominant fashion. So obviously longest streak, active win streak in the league, and on the 8-game win streak, they were able to beat some solid teams. The 8-game win streak came against the Celtics, Pistons, Bucks, Sixers, Hornets, Clippers, which they were shorthanded without Holmgren and J-Dub, as well as the Kings and the Grizzlies. So safe to say at the very least, Thunder is peaking at the right time, setting themselves up for a deep playoff run. And really, it's championship or bust for them. As we mentioned all year long, potentially the best team in the league on paper. Just got to get the job done when it matters. And yeah, it's pretty much, as mentioned, championship or bust season. So Thunder has been rolling, and we'll see if they'll be able to carry that into the postseason. So far, so good.
Yeah. I'm actually a little surprised you're saying championship or bust. Because, the next team that we're going to talk about, the Celtics, are also like title favorites as well. And I feel like they would have a bit more pressure than the Thunder. I feel like for them, it's title or bust. Just to prove to everybody that last year wasn't a fluke, that it wasn't a Mickey Mouse run that people like me have been pushing throughout the season, and a lot of pressure for Jason Tatum as well, who got a lot of flack for last year's performance. I feel like it's very granted. I felt like he didn't come through when he was needed the most. It was Jaylen Brown and friends coming through and dominating, and then Jason Tatum, scoring some points while there's already like a big lead. So I feel like they are more championship or bust than the Thunder. So do you agree with that at all, or do you think there is a lot of pressure for the Thunder to win it this year?
I think it's definitely championship or bust in different ways. I think for Celtics, it's more of a championship or bust for honestly, probably more so Jason Tatum trying to prove the narratives wrong, and then the Celtics also that last year wasn't an easy run as you mentioned. But I think from an OKC's perspective, it's more of a championship or bust for the front office. Like obviously, Sam Presti built such a great team for so many different eras, shall we say. Like obviously he built a great team during the KD Russ Harden. He built a great team after rebuild for currently. Only thing is no championship yet. So I think that from that perspective, it's definitely a lot of pressure for him as the front office. But the team itself, though, I would say definitely not as much pressure as the Celtics, in the sense that the Celtics have been contending for way longer versus OKC. It's really only their second year as a real contender with this current team after they were in a rebuild. So I would say like Celtics is more of the all-around team that has the pressure versus the Thunder is more of the front office having the pressure. But safe to say, nonetheless, both teams have such a good chance at winning it all. Probably both of them look at it as a we need to win it this year. Not
Okay.
necessarily, or else they won't have another chance, but like it would be a wasted opportunity, I guess is the way to say it.
Okay, I didn't really think about that viewpoint, but that makes a lot of sense to me. I feel like ultimately though, like although I might not entirely agree with championship or bust, it's definitely finals or bust with how great their season has been. The as I just mentioned earlier, the gap between the first seed and the second seed in the West is huge. So if they get bumped in the second round again, then the Thunder are gonna have some uncomfortable conversations to have this off season probably. Um, we'll see if that happens. But the West is tough. It's tough. You can't count out the Nuggets. You can't count out the Warriors. You can't count out the Lakers. So we'll see. But to an extent, I do agree with you there. But just to not end things off on a down note for the Thunder, I do want to ask you this: if Shea leads the Thunder to a championship this year, is he automatically the GOAT for OKC? Or do you think Westbrook or Durant still have a place on top?
I feel like that's kind of tough to say, to be honest, because like as an overall player, I would say hell no, he's not better than those other two guys. But then it's like at the same time, if he does carry them to a championship, he did something that the other two guys didn't do, which is kind of similar to like the Toronto situation where like Kawhi was the one guy that actually won them a championship, but then like DeMar was there for a longer time and had a longer stint and technically did more for the team through an extended period. Now, doing more is hard to say because like technically if you're talking about the getting the job done, Kawhi did more because he won a championship. Like DeRozan was there longer and like had a longer run. So like I feel like it'd be kind of like the Toronto situation if something like this happened where like let's say Shea won the championship. Now I will say maybe slightly different than the Toronto one just because like Kawhi was literally only there for 1 year versus like Shea actually has been in OKC for about to be 6 years now. So then I think honestly maybe makes it like a little bit more of a case to be argued because like yeah, as individual players, I still think the other two are for sure better. But then it's like getting the job done. There's just a chance that maybe he might be up there, the case for the best player in their franchise history. Um, yeah, which then again, like it also depends on how you want to judge, right? Like if you want to judge on overall what they've done for the franchise as a whole or only the peak. If it's only the peak, granted, like he still did a lot, then easily it would be Shea in that case. But I guess that would be a conversation that we definitely would need to dive deeper into come the day that the Thunder actually do win the championship. Until then, I would say definitely Durant and Westbrook are still ahead of Shea. Um, what would you think though? Do you think that Shea would automatically be the greatest player in OKC franchise history if they did win the championship?
Probably. I feel like that's kind of how it works. Sometimes, like, if you put in some time and win a chip, then you're the GOAT for that franchise. That's kind of what happened with the Nuggets, right? Jokic is definitely the GOAT for that franchise. And although I don't necessarily agree, but Toronto, a lot of Toronto fans would say that Kyle Lowry is the GOAT of the Raptors, like entire history, because he was there for a lot of winning years in Toronto and was able to win a championship eventually. He wasn't the number one guy, so that's why I don't necessarily agree. But a lot of, you know, uh, Raptors fans would say he's the GOAT uh, Raptor. So I feel like if Shea, he's been with the franchise for a bit, he's been there for a lot of, or for a few winning seasons. I wouldn't say a lot. There was the play-in season. There was last year where they were the first seed, and now this year they're the first seed again. But yeah, if he wins the championship, gets Finals MVP, uh, not only would that boost him up, but if he also gets the MVP this year, since he is in, you know, a MVP leader at the moment, I think it'd be safe to say that he's the GOAT. Even though nostalgia is telling me that it's Westbrook, but I think you would have to call Shea the GOAT for OKC if all that happens. But we could discuss more about this maybe in the summer. In the summer, I think it'd be a good idea. Now thinking about it, if we compile a list of every franchise's GOAT, like go over every team. I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, that'd be interesting for sure.
All right, should we move on to the Celtics then? Since we kind of briefly
Yeah,
talked about them.
yeah, we can move on to the next team on our W list, which would be the Celtics, who are currently on a 7 game win streak, 9-1 in their last 10 games. And to say the least, the team has been looking scary lately and setting themselves up for a potential repeat run. Um, yeah.
It's not exciting news for us two Lakers fans, but yeah, it is scary seeing how great Celtics are, and seeing uh, like Porzingis playing well, right? Like they're gonna need him during the playoffs, especially this year. Last year they didn't really need him. I feel like this year they for sure are going to need Porzingis to stretch the floor, play some defense, block some shots, and get points when Jason Tatum decides to shoot like Kwame Brown out of nowhere. So, uh, you know, it's not exciting for us, but I'm sure the Celtics fans are happy right now because they are looking very good, and it's almost that time. It's almost playoff time, so uh, it seems like bad news for us Lakers fans.
Yeah, right now it's not looking very exciting for us, but hopefully something miraculous happens in our favor.
Unfortunately, bad news for the Lakers again because this next team we're going to talk about, the Bulls, just beat us twice recently. They have our number for some reason. This
And
mid ass
both of
team,
those
dude.
games, oh my gosh, both of those games were embarrassing in different ways. Okay, but let me start with a breakdown on the Bulls first and why they are on the W list this week. So to start, they are on a 4 game win streak and they are 8-2 in their last 10 games. During the 4 game win streak, they had wins against the Kings, Nuggets, and the Lakers twice. And the game that made me absolutely sick, man, was that damn Josh Giddey buzzer beater half court three, man. I was like, what the fuck? Did he really make that? Like, so I was telling Memo earlier, right before stream, yesterday I went to the gym and coincidentally it was the 5 seconds left in the game. So I saw that whole entire final sequence when first Austin Reeves hit that driving layup, and we were thinking that the Lakers are gonna win that game. And somehow, some way, Josh Giddey dribbles a few steps down court, shoots from half court, and absolutely drills it. And that was like so damn horrible to watch, especially from that guy. Like, come on, man. Like, if it was from Kobe White, I would have been like, all right, tip my hat off to that guy. He's a great player. He's gotten a lot better these last few years. Respect Kobe. But Josh Giddey, man, like, come on. That's literally a um, PDF if you want to use abbreviations. Um, like, come on, man. That was so frustrating to watch. And we'll say this: the game on Saturday was worse in the sense that we got absolutely destroyed by 31 by the Bulls. But this one was embarrassing because we were actually up big. Like we were up by like 18 in the fourth quarter, and then they came back. But I mean, right now we're talking about the Bulls, not necessarily the Lakers, even though we kind of went off the mark a little bit there. But nonetheless, Bulls have been balling out lately. Um, Once again, they refuse to tank when they have absolutely nothing to play for. There's something about the Bulls and unwilling to tank for whatever reason.
Dude, they got
Um,
rid of both DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine so they could better their tanking odds, and they got like so much better without them. It's crazy.
it makes no sense. But to say the least, they're probably going to make the play in once again, which Bulls keeping their play in streak alive, kind of impressive there. Like obviously they don't end up making the playoffs much, but making the play in, I guess good for them. And unfortunately, Josh Giddey has been one of the main highlights of that team. A guy that isn't necessarily one to be the most likable due to more so off court stuff than on court stuff, but I guess we gotta give him his props because he has been balling out lately.
Yeah, Josh Giddey.
So
I mean Giddey, has been doing pretty well as of late. In the first matchup against the Lakers, he almost had a quadruple double, bro. 15 points, 10 rebounds, 17 assists, 8 steals. That was an insane stat line. And within the month of March, he's been averaging 22.5 points per game, 10 rebounds, 9.5 assists with 52% field goal percentage. And it's not just him. Kobe White is also on fire. 29.5 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 4.1 assists, 49% from the field in the month of March. So they're cooking right now. This is the best the Bulls had been all season. Feel like a little too late if they've been playing like this all season. Then yeah, they could be like a scary playoff team. But it is March. A lot of teams are kind of slacking. This is where the Jalen Greens of the world start playing good basketball. I feel like Kobe White might be the same type of player because last year during like the month of March, Kobe White was playing amazing, and now he's doing the same thing here. And again, Josh Giddey has been really good as of late, which is crazy to say. The fact that this man hit a game-winning half-court shot over LeBron this year, even though last year he got traded from the Thunder because he couldn't hit a three in the playoffs, is crazy. Like the man that got traded for not being able to shoot threes made a half court shot for the win. That's crazy.
yeah,
And yeah, I have a
it
lot to
is.
say about the Lakers as well, about LeBron in particular, but I'll leave that for the Ellis. Um, do you
Yeah.
have anything else you want to say about the Bulls, or should we move on to the next team?
Not a whole lot. I was just gonna mention, haha, when Josh Giddey almost had that quadruple double on Saturday, I saw there was this one comment that said, no stats above 18. The man stays true to his game. Because he had 15 points, 17 assists, 10 rebounds, 8 steals, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so crazy good stats, but that comment was accurate. And you know what's crazy is that there's still people out there that try to defend the man and say like, "Oh, but it was never actually proven that he did all of this. Until it is, I'm not gonna believe it." Like, okay, yeah, whatever, dude. Um, yeah. But honestly though, I don't know what to say for those people. Nonetheless, the Bulls have been playing good lately, and as you mentioned, I'm afraid it's too little, too late. This are probably going to be once again the annual play-in tournament loss, or maybe we'll win one play-in tournament game and then lose a second one. Because I think that's what they've been doing a lot. They would win their first play-in game, and then they have a chance to make the playoffs, and then they lose the second one. So if I were to bet money, I would say that's the same thing that's going to happen this year, but we will see. Anyhow, I think that is enough for the Bulls. Shall we move on to the next team on the W list now?
Yeah, and surprisingly, it's the Miami Heat. What? I think we were just talking about them maybe last week or 2 weeks ago about how they
Yeah, it
deserve
was
to be
last week.
yeah, in the L list. This week they are in the W list. Why is that the case?
Yeah, so last week we were just talking about how the Heat were on a 10-game losing streak. Don't look now. One week makes a huge difference. Suddenly they go from a 10-game losing streak to a 3-game winning streak. Shocker, shocker. Um, and their 3 wins all came at home. If they were versus the Hornets, Warriors, and Hawks. And safe to say, easily the best win was against the Warriors. Obviously Steph did not play. He was injured and still recovering from his injury. But nonetheless, a great revenge game on Jimmy Butler, who obviously finessed his way out of town. And publicly made it known that he didn't want to play in Miami anymore. And they blew the roofs off the Warriors, 112 to 86 on Tuesday. And the Heat looked amazing that game. Like they were looking almost like a team that during the years when they had Jimmy Butler, when they were actually making a lot of shots and doing well. And another thing, I guess, kind of like the Bulls, where it's like looking good, but kind of at the wrong time. Looks like it's too little, too late. And for the Heat, that just might be the case because I think they're still like 1.5 games behind the Bulls for the 10th seed in the East. So it's going to be a climb up the mountain for sure. Nonetheless, yeah, Heat has been shockingly looking way better than this last week and looking like a completely different team.
Yeah, we'll see if this continues. I pretty sure that they're still in the play-in race. I doubt they're gonna make any huge waves this postseason, but you know these 3 wins are nice. But it's mostly the win against the Warriors that is nice. Having Jimmy Butler coming back for the first time since the trade. A lot of mixed emotions. A lot of fans were cheering. A lot of fans were booing as well. As you expect, right? It was a messy divorce, but Jimmy Butler tried his best to win a chip over there in Miami. And although I wasn't a huge believer in Jimmy, you gotta give props where it's due, and he deserved the tribute video. He deserved the cheers as much as he did deserve those boos. So, the fact that the Heat were able to beat the Warriors that game, and Jimmy didn't even have a good game either. It's definitely a huge win for the Heat. They're not winning a championship this year, so this is probably the biggest highlight of the season, being able to defeat the Jimmy Butler Warriors. So I guess shout out to them.
Honestly, that's really all there is to say because clearly a lost season, but I mean, find any win you can, and that was one of them. So, shout out to them.
Yeah, shout
I
out to
guess,
them.
shall we move on to the next team on our W list?
Yes,
Being
and the next team is the Detroit Pistons. And that is because they are the very first team in NBA history to triple their win total from the previous season. Last year, they won 14 games. You know, it was a historically bad season where I believe they tied for the longest losing streak in NBA history. It got that bad that Kyle Kuzma was saying that you don't want to be that team, in reference to not wanting to be the team to lose to the Pistons during that streak. It was bad in Detroit. There was prayers for uh, uh, Cade Cunningham because he was trying his best out there and the team just sucked. This year was 180, complete 180. And yeah, they currently have 42 wins this season, which is triple of 14. So that's incredible. That never been done before. And the fact that they made such a huge jump um, is incredible. And although, it's clear that, or I won't say it's clear, but Kenny Atkinson, the coach for the Cavs, is most likely going to win um, Coach of the Year. But, the coach for Detroit deserves some love as well because he's the one that turned it around for them.
Yeah, and you know what the funny irony about all that is the fact that JB Bickerstaff was the former head coach of the Cavs. He really did not look that good in Cleveland. I don't know how somehow, some way he's actually doing really good in Detroit, but shout out to him because like initially I thought I was like, what are the Pistons doing? You hired this guy that isn't even that good of a head coach, and man has me proven me wrong. He has been doing great things with the Pistons, to my surprise for sure. So shout out to the Pistons. JB Bickerstaff also proving all wrong and doing a great job. As mentioned, Kenny Atkinson probably should be the coach of the year, but if not, then easily JB Bickerstaff would be the second runner-up option. But you could honestly argue vice versa, JB Bickerstaff, because of, as you mentioned, triple the amount of wins from the previous season, being the NBA first time in NBA history. So that is quite a crazy good accomplishment there. So Pistons going from team in the league by far, or maybe not by far because the Wizards were not much better, but nonetheless the worst team in the league to a very decent looking team that's going to make the playoffs. Shout out to the Pistons for making a complete 180 turn.
And I wonder if, with Detroit doubling their win, or not doubling, tripling their wins, and the Cavs losing recently, maybe there will be a push for Bickerstaff to win it. But I guess we'll see. We could talk about that more in our award predictions video. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind, I guess.
Yeah, definitely something to honestly be up for debate at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the last team in the W list. And I sneaked in the Pacers here, not necessarily for, winning uh, a lot of games, even though they've done some winning, and they especially won this game against the Wizards where they scored 162 points without overtime. This was within regulation. They scored 162 points to beat the Wizards by 53. God damn. That's a lot of points. And yeah, this is the sixth most. I started talking like Mike Tyson right there. This is the sixth most points in a game with no overtime in NBA history. And what's also crazy is that they were draining threes like crazy. They scored 23 threes on 57% from three. What a crazy game for the Pacers.
Yeah. So for context, the night before, that was when the Pacers lost against the Lakers on the LeBron tip-in game winner. So, to say the least, the Pacers were definitely pissed about that loss, and they put it all out on the Wizards. And as you mentioned, I was gonna say NBA record, technically not NBA record, but six most points in a game with no OT. Um, Mighty impressive. And 27 threes on 57% shooting, also from three, also very impressive. And though it was against the Wizards, the Pacers looked amazing that game. If they shoot like that, if they shoot like that, it's gonna be tough for any team to beat them. Granted, like those performances are not really sustainable to happen often, but like those are definitely one of those crazy good performances worth mentioning for sure.
Oh yeah.
And W list.
Oh yeah. We've been talking a lot about the Pacers as of late, and hop on the bandwagon now because Pacers are gonna upset some teams this playoffs. So like, I guarantee it. But yeah, I guess we could leave that there and move on to a few
Yeah.
players.
I mean, they upset some teams last year in the playoffs, so it's possible they do it again.
Yeah, you would think it's most likely this year they'll upset teams, but we
Right.
gotta wait and see, I guess.
Yep. Gotta wait and see. But yeah, I think we can move on to the next W on our list, and that would be Russell Westbrook. Um, Memo, would you like to take the lead on why Russ made the W list this week?
Yeah, Westbrook made the W list because this week he surpassed Kevin Garnett for 20th in the all-time points leaderboard. And he did this by scoring a deep three from the logo. Uh, that's what he did to reach the milestone. It was one of those threes where, like, you got scared that Westbrook was attempting this three because he assumed he'd brick it. No offense to Westbrook, I'm a huge fan. Like if you guys watch the podcast, I love Westbrook, but you typically wouldn't want Westbrook to shoot from that far, but he made it. And not only did he make it, but he surpassed Kevin Garnett for 20th in all-time points. So shout out to Westbrook for that. And also, I think just today, I just saw this. He surpassed Oscar Robertson for 8th all-time in total assists. So shout out to this man. He is known for being a jack of all trades. I believe that's the saying. He rebounds, he scores points, he assists, he does it all as a point guard, which is very impressive. And again, I've been a huge Westbrook fan for a while. He is one of my favorite point guards of all time, so I'm happy that he's doing well with the Nuggets, and he's still, breaking records and, surpassing expectations this late into his career. So shout out to Brody.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Brody indeed for continuing to break records. Definitely happy to see for sure.
And I guess we could stick with his teammate Nikola Jokic because he's also breaking records as he does. Nikola Jokic is known for surprising everybody. And this week, he had his 30th triple double in the regular season. This is the first time he's done this in his career. And this is now a new franchise record for the Nuggets. He beat his own record. I believe he did it last year with 29 triple doubles. So That's cool. And now he became the fourth player to put up 30 triple doubles in a single season. Hoops, do you want to throw some guesses out there on the other four players that made this milestone or reached this milestone?
Um, I must say Russ is for sure one of them.
Yes, he did it 3 times.
Okay. Um, Oscar Robertson would probably be the other one of the others.
He did it once. That's correct. And I guess one more person.
Okay.
Nikola Jokic is the fourth person to do it. So there's one other player that was able to do it.
Hmm. I gotta think who that other guy is. Um, Honestly, I'm not sure who the other guy is. Was it like someone kind of recent or not that recent?
Not at all.
Not at all. Hmm. I don't know if I'm gonna get it, honestly. Maybe
This
just throw the towel, to be
this
honest.
man is known for crazy stat lines.
Crazy stat lines? Wait. Wilt Chamberlain?
Yes, Will Chamberlain. There we go.
Okay,
He was able to do this
there it is.
once.
Okay. I cannot believe it then, honestly. Like I knew that Russ and Oscar Robertson for sure had to be two of them. Wilt being the third doesn't shock me. Or I guess technically Jokic too being the fourth, but yeah, to say the least, all very believable.
Yeah, so shout out to Jokic for breaking another record. And we got one more player in the W list, and that is DeMar DeRozan, who scored his 25th thousand points this week. And he did it in the most DeMar DeRozan way possible, and that's by hitting a mid range shot. Fitting enough, it was against the Bulls, his former team. So I guess that was kind of cool. I think they lost though, so that's not as cool. Um, but yeah, he
Yeah.
is now the 27th player to reach this milestone, and only the sixth current player to have had 25,000 plus points. So shout out to Compton's own DeMar DeRozan for this milestone.
Yes, sir. Definitely really impressive to say the least. Cool that he did it against his former team, even though they did lose that game. But nonetheless, shout out to DeMar for sure. As you mentioned, Compton legend.
Yeah, further increasing his chances of making the Hall of Fame, which I think he will make it. I don't think he'll be a first ballot, but I truly do believe he's gonna make the Hall of Fame.
Definitely worthy for of making Hall of Fame for sure.
I'm glad you agree because a lot of people don't.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people probably just think that he shouldn't be making it because of like no championships and I guess kind of folds in the playoffs. But I feel like despite all that being true, he's done a pretty good job like in his overall career leading up to the playoffs that personally I would definitely argue he should be in the Hall of Fame for sure. I can understand why people say no, but I think he makes a good case.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, that's every winner in the W list. The last W list of the regular season. But now we gotta talk about the losers, the biggest losers in this week's L list, this final L list for the regular season. And unfortunately, we have to talk about our Lakers in the final L list. That's
Yeah.
crazy. But I
Uh,
have a lot to say, but I'm gonna have you start things off. Why do the Lakers deserve to be in the L list?
yeah, so I'll take the lead and then I'll let you chime in. So reason why the Lakers are on the L list is because they have lost four of their last five games. All right, so first game that started a losing streak was no shame at all. It was against the Bucks, and they were absolutely shorthanded on the second night of back-to-back. They had no Braun, Luka, Austin, Rui, Dorian Finney-Smith, or Gabe, so it's like fine. They were expected to lose that game. The other losses were not good though. So to start, against the Magic, they lost by 12, and Magic is one of the super up and down inconsistent teams this season. But like, I feel like the Lakers should play better that game. And then came the two Bulls games that we mentioned earlier. Both embarrassing in different ways. Second one was a worse feeling because of the damn Josh Giddey game winner, which we already talked about a lot later, so it won't too much more now. But we'll say this: their only win within the last week was a thriller, and it was when LeBron had the game-winning tip-in, his first game winner as a Laker, and kind of funny because like obviously the haters are gonna always say stuff, like saying like, oh, it wasn't impressive because it was just a tip-in layup. I mean, like, the fact of the matter is a game winner is a game winner. Like, it's better he makes that than he doesn't make it and we lost that game. Because if we would have lost that game, we would be on a 5-game losing streak right now. And sure, like one game win or loss doesn't sound like too big of a difference, but every game counts. So man, was that a big one that needed to be won. And we should have won the following night too, if not for that damn half court buzzer beater by Josh Giddey. But yeah, the a lot of frustrating losses for this team was in the last week, and it's just I think that the most frustrating part about it is that they're doing this now so close to the playoffs time. Like this is the time they need to lock in, and hopefully they get it together soon because we're only 3 weeks away. If so, then we'll probably be fine. But if they keep being complacent and keep playing like this, one, they're gonna keep dropping down in the standings, and two, they just might be in trouble come playoff time if they keep doing this. So hopefully Lakers can get it together very soon. But since I said a lot, I will now hand it over to Memo. What would you like to talk about our Lakers' recent disappointment?
Yeah, I'll say first of all, you did a great job explaining all of that, but I just wanted to add how, um, yeah, this last stretch, although there's been injuries, so we have some excuse there, and the fact that we do have one of the harder schedules to end the season, that's another excuse, but still, it's very disappointing to see how rough it's been for the Lakers. Just to uh, further push that point there, the Lakers, when they first attained Luka Doncic, they won 8 out of their first 10 games. They had an 8-2 record, and then the last 12 games after that, a 4-8 record. So that's rough. They've been losing a lot as of late. Even though they started very well with Luka. Um, but yeah, what uh, I'm really really upset about is the Bulls game. Not necessarily because Josh Giddey hit a lucky half court shot. You know, it happens. It happens sometimes, and that is partially luck. But we wouldn't have been in that situation if LeBron played better defense. You know, preventing that three from making in. I forgot who shot that three, but someone shot a three. The Lakers went to inbound it. Oh, it was LeBron inbounding, and it was a lazy ass pass from LeBron that Josh Giddey was able to steal it quickly and pass it to Kobe White for another three to, I believe, tie the game right there. Uh,
I think that one was when the Bulls first went up one before Reeves hit the layup.
okay, so they
Yeah.
went up one, and then Reeves hit the layup, tried to save LeBron's ass, and then Giddey hit a game-winning three. So, uh, that's very disappointing to see for LeBron. Like, yeah, he made a game-winning shot recently, but to see him have these lazy moments where we need him the most is tough because it's not like the first time he plays lazy defense, has bad passes. I saw this a lot happening last year in the playoffs against the Nuggets. There was a game where Aaron Gordon popped off because LeBron couldn't guard him. All he does is cut to the rim. And LeBron couldn't do anything. He was refusing to do anything. He wasn't playing any defense. So, um, yeah. So watching that performance from LeBron to end things off is very disappointing. It got Shannon Sharp pissed at LeBron, and he's like the biggest LeBron glazer I know. So, uh, yeah. Hopefully he doesn't bring this energy to the playoffs because they're not passing the first round if he plays like that.
Yeah. First off, yeah, I think LeBron definitely cost us a game against the Bulls for sure. Like that turnover pass that led to the Kobe White go ahead three was literally so inexcusable. For starting context, what was it like 15 seconds left? The Lakers were up by five before I think it was Patrick Williams that hit the first three, and then LeBron's failed inbound pass led to the Kobe White go ahead three in the span of like what was it like maybe less than 10 seconds.
Yeah, they
Like
scored 6 points in 10 seconds. It's crazy.
there's literally no excuse for that. Like all the Lakers had to do is inbound the ball, make your free throws, game over. They couldn't do that. And so then the Bulls, what they did, like it was almost like some Tracy McGrady like voodoo magic, scoring like oh my gosh, what was it like 10 points in 8 points in like less than 15 seconds or some shit? Like, man, what the hell? Um, yeah, there was really no excuse for that loss. That's for sure.
Yeah, very, very disappointing indeed. Are we done talking shit about our Lakers? Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on to a different team. And that would be the Memphis Grizzlies. So, shocker alert, earlier today, the Grizzlies fired head coach Taylor Jenkins despite the team being the currently fifth seed in the Western Conference and still a relatively good record. And Memphis GM Zach Kleeman said after the decision, I'm genuinely appreciative of Taylor's contributions to the city and this city to this team and the city over the past 6 seasons. This was a difficult decision given the consistent and tangible development of our players and overall success under Taylor's leadership. I wish Taylor the very best going forward. And then, aside from that, Shams Charania reported Taylor Jenkins was called into the Grizzlies' office this morning and was fired in person, sources tell ESPN. Stunning dismissal. Jenkins now becomes one of the top head coaching candidates for the upcoming cycle. He had a 539 winning percentage as Grizzlies head coach, which obviously that dipped because of last season when it had one bad year because of John Morant being out and all those other guys being out. So it really should have been a higher win percentage, but still like above 500.
Yeah, that's very
So
impressive.
it is, yeah. So now that leaves so many questions. Like literally 3 weeks before the season, why do this now? Probably some behind the scenes stuff, maybe similar to Adrian Griffin in Milwaukee last year. Apparently, winning is not enough because there must have been something else behind the scenes for them to do that now. It was only 3 weeks before this playoffs. And like, granted, with the way the Grizzlies have been playing lately, probably would not have gone very far anyway. But like now, they have to pivot fast. And I think like at least for this season, they probably are like all but done. But who knows? Maybe interim comes in and shocks everyone. Nonetheless, actual game wise was also a reason why the Grizzlies are on the L list, and that's because they have lost four of their last 5 games. They lost to the Kings, Blazers, Clippers, and Thunder, and their only win came against a tanking Jazz team. And so tomorrow sets up a very crucial matchup between Grizzlies and the Lakers, which is the 4th seed and the 5th seed in the Western Conference. Lakers need to find a way to win that game, like, so bad, man. The game is gonna be in Memphis. That's not an excuse. We still need to beat them. So yeah, we will see. But what are your thoughts on the Grizzlies and that super shocking decision to fire Taylor Jenkins? It was only 3 weeks before the playoffs.
Yeah, I've got a few thoughts. I was definitely surprised. You know, I told you before the recording that I first found out about this was what you posted this story in our Google Doc to for today's episode. So I couldn't believe that they fired Taylor Jenkins. I did watch a video by Molly Morrison. She's pretty big on TikTok. She, I believe, works for Bleacher Report as well. And she's a die-hard Grizzlies fan. She watches every Grizzlies game. And she gave insight on why they would fire Taylor Jenkins. And she brought up times where back when Dylan Brooks was on the team, Taylor Jenkins would have him on the floor even though he would be like shooting bricks and literally costing the Grizzlies a win, causing them to lose. She also mentioned, what else did she mention? I just had it. She also mentioned how Taylor Jenkins doesn't really do enough to have John Morant really, what's the word? Utilize John Morant and his full potential because it seems like they win by committee over there, which is great, but they need like a superstar to really help carry the team, and that should have been John Morant. But this year, John Morant kind of took a backseat, and she felt like Jenkins should have done more to have John Morant be a true leader on the floor, and especially utilize Edie for like pick and pops, or whatever, like a pick and roll game with Edie should have been a huge focus this year, and they didn't do that. So she brought up a lot of great points of how Taylor Jenkins, although is a great regular season coach, has a lot of rough moments as a coach in the playoffs and regular season, and doesn't really help players like John Morant evolve their game at all. With all that said, though, it is weird that it's happening now. They should have waited till the off season to do this. Honestly, like, there's got to be something we don't know in order for him to get fired now. I heard a lot of rumors that I don't want to repeat because it's like a lot of weird allegations that have no proof.
I have a feeling I know.
Yeah, but they think maybe it's similar to other coaches' behaviors. Or my best guess is just that he might have lost the locker room this year. That's kind of what happened with. I was gonna say Mike Brown, but that wasn't necessarily the case. De'Aaron Fox kind of disproved that somewhat recently. But that's my best guess, that maybe the locker room isn't on his side anymore, and they're not vibing. That's the only reason why I would believe Taylor Jenkins was fired now, because there's really no good reason to fire this coach now before heading into the playoffs. Now they're like fresh meat. Like, this is easy eats, barbecue chicken, catfish, collard greens. Like, this is easy eats for any playoff team. I feel like it's them and the Rockets that are going to be huge targets for these more established or veteran type teams that want to make a push far into the playoffs. I would love the Lakers to face the Grizzlies. I would love the Lakers to face the Rockets right now, because like, how much better are they going to get with this new coach within such a short time span? it can't be that much. It can't. There's a lot of new things that they have to deal with during a time where they're still, not entirely, you know, uh, what's the word? Like exempt from the play-in, right? Like that still could be possible if everything went south for them. So
It's still possible
yeah,
because like I believe the Lakers and the Grizzlies 4 and 5 are only 2 games above the Clippers and the Warriors at the 6 and 7 now. So it is like so dangerous, honestly. Like it's possible.
it is possible. So yeah, this is definitely a crazy move to make at this point of the season. Like I'm very shocked. Maybe Molly helped me understand why they would do it, but why they would do it now is still a mystery for me.
Yeah, definitely. Like, why now? Again, is the major question. And yeah, honestly, like, I think ideal scenario would be if the standings just stayed put Lakers 4 versus Grizzlies 5. And then that might be honestly our best at like easiest opportunity for
Barbecue
playoff
chicken.
series. Yes, sir. So yeah, a very questionable move to say the least once again.
Uh huh. For sure. Now, are we done with the Grizzlies? Can we move on to the last loser?
I think we are done with the Grizzlies and we can move on to the last loser now.
Which is Adam Silver, the NBA's commissioner, and he recently I forgot where he was talking about this, but he recently admitted how awful this year's All-Star game was, which is true. It was pretty bad. And usually I would defend Adam Silver with a lot of his decisions. I would I like the in season tournament. I liked some past All Star game experiments. This year absolutely sucked though. Like this year was awful. I think the game itself was okay, but like it didn't really last that long. It was like a 20-minute game within a 3 hour span or something like that. And yeah, Adam Silver admitted it was a miss. A quote here says from Adam Silver: "The All Star game was a miss. We're not there in terms of creating an All Star experience we can be proud of, and our players can be proud of." So basically, it sucked. It was doo doo. It was garbage, and they're not proud of it. They're not proud. So I'm glad he's not proud because it was a pile of dog shit, and I hope they do something better next year. Maybe just go back to East and West. I know it's the boring answer, but I know a lot of people want that to happen. I want it to happen, but I know that it will be a boring game as well. So, any thoughts on what Adam Silver said?
Yeah, I will say the fact that he admitted it was definitely a bit shocking because I'm sure he didn't want to admit it. But I guess respect to him for knowing the truth and not denying it because man, that was a awful All-Star weekend like many of the recent ones have been. And so hopefully change can be made to make it better again. And quite honestly, go back to the traditional West versus East very well may not be a bad idea. So yeah, I would say go back to traditional West versus East might as well be because sure it might still not fix everything, especially if those damn grown men don't even try to play the game to win. But like, yeah, hopefully something makes the All Star Weekend fun to watch once again. Because back in the day, in the past, back in the day, All Star Weekend was something to look forward to. Now it's just an absolute snooze fest, and it's like I'd honestly rather just not waste my time watching, and I'll watch something else honestly, because like, man, has it been boring lately. But yeah, NBA, do better, please.
Please. It's only up from here, I guess. But that's it for all of our losers. Now we do have a couple news stories. We'll keep it short. We'll keep it short. The first one being, Damian Lillard, is out indefinitely, due to blood clots. Now, blood clots kind of scare me. I don't know a lot about them, but I do know that that is the reason why Chris Bosh had to retire early, was due to blood clots. But luckily, they, you know, caught it early, and it was in their right. It was in Damian Lillard's right calf. I believe he's going through like blood thinners. I believe that's what it's called, something like that. And they're hoping that he'd be back by playoff time. And I hope so for the Bucks' sake, because if he's not back, it's already like game over for the Bucks. Like, I still feel like they won't do much this year in the playoffs. I feel like they lack an identity. Still, the Damon Giannis have been playing better. Kind of, it's the rest of the team though that aren't playing as well. So it sucks that Damian Lillard not only has blood clots, but is the second player to be out this season with blood clots. The first player being Victor Wembanyama. But yeah, bad news for the Bucks, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely very unfortunate to hear for sure. Dame being like one of the few bright spots on this team aside from Giannis, of course, and now he is out indefinitely. The Bucks, granted, probably were not going to go very far even with if he was available. Granted, they were struggling for whatever reason, but this certainly does not help. And so, honestly, at this point, I very well might be shocked if they are not a first run out again because, like, yeah, they would be playing against the Pacers if playoff is today, and seems like that team has been giving them quite some troubles lately. I mean, I think the Bucks did win the regular season series against them this year, but like aside from that, like playoff series last year, despite Giannis being hurt, they beat them. The Pacers beat them quite bad. Regular season last year, the Pacers beat them 4-1, I believe. And then, yeah, it's just not a good matchup for the Bucks whatsoever. So, to say the least, I think the Bucks might be in trouble, unfortunately, even though I like to root for them because of Giannis, Dame, and company. I would say look at this as an opportunity to set their eyes and prepare for a better comeback in 25-26. But I guess we'll see if they are able to prove any doubters wrong. I'm not betting on it, but we will see.
That'd still be very tough because, they're a pretty old team, so they're running out of time. They're running out of time, but I'll leave it
That's
there.
true. Like, I feel like the more seasons that they push back, potentially the worse things could get, honestly, at this point. Like, it's good that they won their championship already, but man, they could have won more than one.
Yeah, disappointing. I'll say that.
Definitely.
And last piece of news, LaMelo Ball is gonna miss the rest of the season. He will go uh, through a procedure on his wrist and ankle due to several issues there. And it makes sense, the Hornets sucked this year. And they don't really necessarily need him because, they're not making the playoffs. They're already so bad that, uh, like, losing more games is not really going to hurt them. It's going to actually help them more. Um, but yeah, kind of a disappointing season for the Hornets because for the most part, LaMelo was somewhat healthy, and when LaMelo was pretty healthy a few years ago, they were able to make the play in. So, uh, you kind of would think that they'd be a play in type team. I think I expected a little better for them as well during our preseason predictions, standing predictions. I didn't think they'd be like the second worst team in the East. I did think they were gonna suck though, but shout out to Lamelo. He came through with a lot of fun plays. He uh, was fun to watch for sure. He averaged 25.2 points per game, 7.4 assists per game, 4.6 rebounds per game. And yeah, he's out for the rest of the season.
Yeah. To say the least, obviously for Hornets as a team, not necessarily a loss because they weren't going to go anywhere anyway. Season was over. And honestly, the more losing, the better. Higher draft pick. But still obviously disappointing because Melo is clearly one of the more fun players to watch in the league. And to say the least, this year was cool to see the return of the Ball brothers, shall we say, in more ways than one, right? I mean, like, Melo and Lonzo were injured for a lot of the previous years. They were both, despite still having injuries this year, they were able to play a good amount of games, and we were able to see them back in the court. So that was fun as well, of course. And then, of course, the breakout of Jello as a rapper. That's also cool. So I guess technically at the moment, Jello is the last man standing because I think Zoe is also still like injured at the moment, so he's not playing either. Melo's about to be sidelined, while Jello is still staying strong on his rap game, and he's also gonna be a headliner at Rolling Loud. I'm sure maybe you heard about that, so that's also cool.
That already happened.
So yeah, that already happened. Oh, my bad, it happened already. But he was a headliner at Rolling Loud, and yeah, to say the least, it was cool seeing All Brothers back as a main headline this year. And although they're two of them on the basketball court are going to be practically, I don't know about Lonzo's timeline, but I say look forward to Melo healing up fast and then returning next season for sure. And hopefully Hornets as a better team as well.
Yeah, will they get Cooper Flag? We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for our final weekly rundown. Moving on from here, we're gonna have some very fun episodes for you all. What are we doing next week? I forgot. Is next week the awards show, or are we predicting NBA awards? Do you remember?
So I think the plan was next week we do our predictions of NBA awards,
Okay, I feel like that
and then
makes sense.
the following week we do our own awards show, and then the week after that is when we'll do like playoff predictions and maybe play-in predictions depending on when the recording is done. But
Yeah.
if no play-in predictions, then it'll probably be play-in overview for the playoff predictions. Nonetheless, we got some bangers coming up soon. Now,
Bangers.
it's approaching the playoffs, so you guys do not want to miss it. Make sure you guys stay tuned. And of course, yes, sir. As always, if you guys like our content, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share. We greatly appreciate your support. We would not be where we are without you guys. Um, and because if we're gonna have some good bangers coming out, so make sure you stay on the lookout for sure because guarantee you it's gonna be some heat, fuego. Um, but yeah, thank you guys once again, and Memo, putting on anything you like.
Yeah, this is the time to follow the podcast because we got some exciting episodes that will be recorded very soon. We've got the playoffs coming. We'll do uh, playoff coverage weekly. We did a great job last year, I feel like, covering the playoffs and each matchup and standings. So best believe we're going to do it again this year. And of course, after the playoffs, after the finals, we're going to have some fun episodes that I'm sure you'll enjoy. We'll continue our Team Goats discussion this summer probably. Last summer a big hit was our rankings for every position. So like the top 15 point guards, shooting guards, all of that. That was a big hit. So we'll bring it back this summer. Things are just heating up, even though the NBA season is winding down. The the podcast here is it's heating up. So make sure you're following the podcast on YouTube or on audio platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment. Follow our socials, TikTok, Twitter. Check those out because sometimes I post there. But yeah, I think we're done here. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.